Hi, I'm Clemens, and in this video I will show you all that you may know about folder hider protection techniques. Let's quickly create a user so that we can start hiding. But before we will do so, let's first change the language. So, it's in English now. Let's create a user. As you see, I will create a user with a capital J and a capital N. Our first security measure is that John with 2 capitals is a different user than a John with 1 capital. So after I created John with 2 capitals, I could in fact create another John with just 1 capital or none. And these would actually be 2 different kinds of users, and they could both hide folders, but they cannot unhide each other's folders. So I quickly filled in the rest. I click on Add User. Successfully created a user. I will now enter an email address. All the login credentials that I entered on the previous page will be sent to this email address. My login credentials have been saved. No, I do not want to copy them. Okay, so I will now log on as the user I just created. And I'm logged on as John. For this video we created a special test version, and this here is something that will not be in our commercial version. These buttons simply help us to show you one step of our protection scheme. Now, let's start by hiding a folder in the regular way. I click on this button, I select a folder, the ABC folder. The ABC folder is now in my list of hidden folders. Let's check that indeed it is hidden. As you can see, I can no longer select the ABC folder. It simply isn't there. Now, what techniques did we use to hide this ABC folder? Well, of course, we used plain hiding. Some of our competitors only use hiding, which is not a very great technique because it's quite easy to make hidden folders visible again. And some other competitors, they use a technique of only locking a folder. Sometimes these folders will be displayed with a lock, which is of course like a magnet for potential hackers. So we used a combination of these techniques, and we added some techniques of our own. And the second technique that we used is metamorphose. And as a third option, we used locking. Now what we will do is we will make our hidden folders visible. And once these folders are visible, you will see the metamorphose in action. However, it's difficult to also show you that we have the locking mechanism, because the metamorphose prevents us from showing you that. So that is why in this special test version we created these 2 buttons, hide plus lock and unhide plus lock. These options do not use the metamorphose. And as mentioned before, in a regular version these buttons are not available. It's just in this special test version. In the map hider video and the directory hider video we show you with an English version of Windows, unfortunately this is the Dutch version, how you can make the hidden directories visible. Well, the middle button here, we need to uncheck hide system files. Windows gives a message that it's not safe to do so. And we need to click hide hidden files and folders. As mentioned before, in the map hider and directory hider videos, we dive much deeper into this. Now, if I open Windows Explorer, Then this here is our ABC folder. I can double click on it, and as you can see, it did not open our folder. Instead, it opened the network workgroup. Well, interesting. And of course, we can tell you that besides the Metamorphose, that this folder is also locked, but we cannot show you this because, as you see, when we double click on it, we simply get diverted to the network group. So let's do this a bit differently. I will unhide the ABC folder. So in order to show you that besides Metamorphose our folders are locked as well, we created this special test version with these buttons, and now our folders will only be hidden and locked, or unhidden and unlocked, and Metamorphose will not be used. So I press the hide and lock button. I select the ABC folder. The ABC folder is now hidden. I open Windows Explorer. And as you can see by the light yellow color that the ABC folder is indeed hidden. This is darker yellow. I will now try to open the ABC folder. Well, shoot, I get an error message stating that access is not allowed. Well, let's try to delete the folder. Well, I'm not authorized to do this. Try again. Well, doesn't matter. I cannot delete the folder. So, as you can see, Folder Hider uses 3 techniques. Hiding, which is only used so that hidden folders do not attract any attention. Metamorphose, which redirects people that want to try and get access to your folders. And locking, which prevents access, deletion, etc. of your folder. Okay, let's unhide this folder. Now, if you feel that hiding a folder, Metamorphose, and locking a folder simply isn't enough to secure the documents that you have in these folders, then we even have another option. You can go to File, Encrypt. You can select to use a password or not. And then you can encrypt a single file, or you can encrypt a complete folder of files. Now we can imagine that this can be very convenient if you have like a USB stick and you have to travel with sensitive data between 2 locations. And of course, when you have an encrypt option, we also provide you with a decrypt option, which works the same. You can select a file to decrypt or an entire folder. And again, if you encrypted the files with a password, you need to provide that password here. If you didn't, then you don't have to use the password. It may be important to know that our decryption option and also our unhide button remain functional even when the trial period has passed. As we have shown you, Folder Hider uses multiple techniques to really hide and secure a folder for you. But how secure is Folder Hider, the program itself? How easy is it to crack it, for instance? Because if it would be very easy to crack the program itself, then for hackers it would be very easy to create a version that can simply unhide just about any folder they can find. So let's show you something about Visual Studio. We created Folder Hider using Visual Studio. As you may have heard, programs created in Visual Studio are notoriously easy to crack. So let's give you an example. We have here created a special sample program for you, which basically only reports the variable of 2 when you press this button. I will now create the executable, and I will now show you how easy it is to get to the source code. So here I have the executable of the program we just created. I start a decompile program and I drag the executable to there, and we get all kinds of interesting things to see. And now we'll show you how easy it is. And here we have the button click. And here we have the code which you saw in our program. You may have heard that some programmers will use obfuscation for this, but that's not really a protection scheme. Obfuscation will mean that this name here will become something difficult to read. But you only have to search on YouTube for deobfuscation programs, and there are tons of possibilities for that. So how did we protect our program? Well, we can't tell you, of course, exactly how we did it, but we can show you the results. Close this one. Here we have the folder hider executable. And now we drag that to this side, just as we did with the other program. And how unfortunately, this will produce an error. The decompiled program is not capable of even reading our executable. Cracking folder hider would require knowledge of assembly language. And in assembly, everything is just zeros and ones, and we wish whoever wants to do that a lot of fun with that. So let's close this. Well, that basically concludes everything we have to say about the folder hider security schemes. We hope you found it useful.